Hello and welcome back to Too Many Books. My name is Sean and today we have a Broken Binding unboxing. This, my friends, is the August fantasy subscription, which I gotta say feels very lightweight in the box compared to, past titles. Which is not to say that this book is necessarily a small book, but the last titles have been pretty massive, like Remedy Feist Magician. That's a tome in and of itself. But this is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, a woman, indigenous American woman, Native American descent, who shows her heritage within her writings. This takes place in very inspired by pre-Columbus America. Black Sun, the first book of the Between Earth and Sky trilogy, August 2025's fantasy subscription book. A man with destiny is a man who fears nothing. Let's dive in. Now, I don't think I've read anything by Roanhorse, but I definitely haven't read this novel or the Between Earth and Sky trilogy, so I'm looking forward to diving in. Broken Binding has some very good choices with their books for this fantasy subscription. So let's see what we've got. First and foremost, I will say I'm excited for the artwork on this. This has cover artwork by Reiko Murakami, who is just superb. Love Murakami's work. She has done several of the, Grady Hendrix? Several of the Grady Hendrix books from SST Publications. I Am the Only Storm That Matters Now, and There Is No Shelter From What I Bring. And this also does feature additional artwork. Oh, man. I know the interiors are by Patricia Gutierrez. Yep, interior artwork, Patricia Gutierrez. The Endpaper by Kara Malikova. So let's take a look at that artwork here. You can definitely see kind of the Mesoamerican stylings here with the stenciling on the cover itself, as well as almost like a coming eclipse on the end papers there. Wow. There's your wow for the video. Your little Owen Wilson wow. Malikova really kicked ass with these end papers. It's very reminiscent of Murakami's style. They complement each other very nicely. But this is a world of magic, is my understanding. Rebecca Roanhorse's signature there. This is Tier 1, which is limited to 1,500 copies, minus 805, which matches my other numbers. And I guess Tier 2 is like 10,000 copies? That can't be right. I heard Tier 2 is like a disgusting number of copies, but I feel like 10,000, that seems too much. But I mentioned in the last video that, unfortunately, with the nature of the Broken Binding, with the subscription titles, you have to join a pretty lengthy wait list in order to get onto the fantasy subscription. You start off on Tier 2, which is unsigned, but you still get the same great specs of the book itself. Then you can eventually get put on a wait list for Tier 1, and if you're patient enough, eventually you might be able to get one of these 1,500 signed copies. But there are, I think, like 10,000, which, like I said, I feel like that number's wrong. But there is a significant number of Tier 2 copies out there. So if this is something where you're just like, I want the fancy book, it shouldn't be too difficult to find. There's the first piece of Gutierrez's artwork for the interior artwork. But I'm excited about this one, because this is the first edition of this novel that I own. The Remedy Feist titles are cool and all, but I have the Grimnoak press titles, versions of those. I feel like the Grimnoak ones are superior. They're pricier, but they're superior. Whereas I can't say the same for this book or this series. This honestly feels like something that Subterranean Press would probably put forth, which actually, they've actually worked with Reiko Murakami as well for several of their N.K. Jemisin titles. This definitely feels, without having actually read the novel, this does feel like something that maybe Sub Press might put out. I know that there is a prisoner who is coming to these lands who is blind and scarred, and presumably this one here, and it looks like they prisoner falls in love with this woman, which I imagine might have something to do with the world changing around him. I didn't want to read too many reviews because I didn't want to get into spoiler territory, but I guess there's a very good dichotomy of what it means of good versus evil and the gray area in between and what it means to be, good or evil. But anyways, I'm excited to dive in and give it a read. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse should be available, not this edition, but the title itself should be available wherever books are sold. This edition was exclusively available through the Broken Bindings Fantasy subscription, which, as I mentioned, unfortunately is a pretty lengthy wait list if you want to get on, although it's not too difficult to get a Tier 2 copy on the secondary market. Even Tier 1 is easy enough to get on the secondary market of these titles. You just might have to pay a little bit more for the Tier 1 titles depending on the author. The Raymond Feist ones, for example, or the Joe Abercrombie ones fetch a premium, whereas some of the, I don't want to necessarily say lesser known authors, but in the huge hellscape that is the fantasy world, fantasy fiction and speculative fiction world, some authors are unfortunately not going to be as well known as well-established authors like Abercrombie or Feist. Roanhorse, I'm not familiar with Roanhorse's work, but she herself has won several awards and been nominated for plenty. Black Sun here was nominated for the Nebula and the Hugo and the Locust. It was finalist for those, didn't win, but it had been nominated. But I'm certainly looking forward to diving in to give it a read. Once I have read this, I will give a nice little book review. Oh, we got a little bit of dings at the top of the boards there, which is unfortunate. Probably because, it's a lighter book getting hustled and bustled around in the packaging. It's a smaller book, which probably led to that. Although, the dings are there in the dust jacket as well. I was going to say it must have been dinged pre-jacketing, but no, it carried through, probably in the shipment. As I mentioned, once I've read this, I'll do a full book review on the channel here. I do at least one book review a week with plenty of unboxing videos, much like these, in between. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. I am a Tier 1 subscriber on the fantasy train, and I'm on the science fiction train, and I am kind of regrettably, as far as my wallet is concerned, also on the new bi-monthly Final Fantasy fantasy science fiction train for newer titles. So we'll see where that one comes out, mainly because The Witcher, the first title there, really appealed to me. But anyways, be sure to subscribe if you want to check out these books month after month. If not, like I said, you can always pick it up, a copy for yourself on the secondary market. It shouldn't be too costly. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Check out Rebecca Roanhorse. Check out The Broken Binding. Link to their website in the description below, and we'll see you around next time.